Hey, David and Aubrey, you're here with Rob and Jess from RHAP. How are you two doing?
We're good.
We're good.
We're
We're
happy
good.
to be here.
So, it was, I'm sure, a very emotional episode of the show this week to watch back how it played out. How are you two dealing with just the very, dramatic way that you went out of the race with having to deal with David's issue with the water?
I mean, truthfully, I feel like all of the emotions came rushing back as we watched it yesterday. But the fact that we got to sit there and watch it together, I got to see David swim, which I didn't get to see while he was in the cave originally.
Yeah.
And I was just telling him, like, I'm so proud of you. Like, I didn't realize you had to jump that deep and, slide that far. So I can imagine how that was a little traumatizing.
Yeah, reliving it was definitely very emotional because she would always ask, so how was it? What was the obstacle like? And then I would explain it to her, but until yesterday, it was like, okay, this is what he had to do. This is why he took so long,
Yeah, it was emotional, but we were extremely happy with the way
so
that
good.
we saw it.
So I would love to know a little bit more about the task that ultimately was your downfall, because this looked like one of the more brutal things I've seen Amazing Race have people do, especially given the water temperature. So when you made the decision to take the penalty, did they make you do the penalty like sitting there at the task, or was it going to be something you'd have to cash in when you checked in at the mat?
Truthfully, I think that they had us sit there after we made the decision to take the penalty. It was a hard decision too. I mean, everyone saw how much pressure there was on both of us, but mainly David.
Yeah. I remember sitting there for quite some time. I want to touch a little bit on the fact that the water was really cold, because I feel like it ultimately hindered my overall performance for that obstacle. And
Well, especially given that you'd already been in the water. That had to be kind of cumulative.
It was, I feel like it was from the moment we got in the water for that task. David, you saw it yesterday. David was standing on the side, like taking deep breaths. And typically, that's sign for he's trying to calm himself down. And knowing what he just went through in the first task and then having to do this, my mind was so off of the race. My mind was making sure that he was okay. There was no life jackets. You're in the middle of a nice lagoon at a freezing cold temperature. So I feel like in that moment, all of the attention was just making sure that he was okay. And we saw that with the memory challenge.
So I think you two had a pretty interesting way of getting onto the Amazing Race, where that from your bio that it says that you were contacted very late in the game. Could you just talk a little bit about what that scramble must have been like to have been approached to go to the Amazing Race just with very little prep time?
Yeah, so from the start, it was a little bit, I'd say, harder for us to get into the game mode because we were reached out too late. We expedited the interview process. We ultimately didn't make the cast. And then to get 2 hours notice to be ready, it's like, do we go? Do we not go? Do we go? Do we not go?
Yeah. By the time we got to, Munich, it just was barely sinking into us that we were about to race on the Amazing Race. And then for Phil to say, and it's a scramble, everyone was like we didn't even have a gameplay in mind. And then to figure out that it's a scramble, it was just intense. And I think that showed, at least for us, because we came in 11th out of 12 teams. I can assure you, we went back to the hotel room that night like, oh my gosh, we just ran the Amazing Race. But I mean, there was a lot of pressure. And the fact that we weren't mentally structured to compete really, I think, worked against us. But we weren't going to use that as something that held us back because we weren't supposed to be on the show to begin with.
So Aubrey, you alluded to on the show last night, you alluded to the fact that you have been a fan for most of your life. And so I would love to hear a little bit more about your fandom, it is a little bit mind blowing to think that somebody could be a grown adult on the show and having watched the show as a second grader.
Yeah. So I remember the first season when someone brought in a suitcase. I don't know if you guys remember that, but someone had a suitcase. And I remember being like, whoa, there's a TV show that takes you around the world. And as someone that has never traveled around the world at, that age, that was like the ultimate show to be on. And I remember asking my dad if he would go on the show with me, but it never worked out. We never auditioned. And I think you kind of get to that moment in your brain where you're like, I don't think we would ever have that opportunity to do that. And then I grew older, and then we got a call that they were casting for The Amazing Race. And I called David at work over and over and over, like, answer your phone. This is the last week of casting. Like, we need audition. And we just finished The Amazing Race, 11 out of the 12 legs. I mean, the little second grader inside of me is jumping up and down. And then to see Phil on the map for the first time, I was freaking out.
So in this leg, we saw a return to David driving and Aubrey navigating. Was there any particular reason why you went back to the configuration that you didn't do as well with earlier in the race?
The reason why I ultimately drove again was because the truck, the SUV, was a stick shift.
Yeah.
And so Aubrey, I was not going to put that pressure whatsoever on Aubrey. I was like, it's a no-brainer. I'm jumping on the, behind the wheel. You navigate.
Well,
she did really well.
I wasn't going to take that from you because David loves stick shift.
Yeah.
I don't know, his car is stick shift. I've been trying to get rid of his car for years, but it is stick shift. And so we just ultimately knew anything with stick shift, that's all.
No, it was great. Plus, I wasn't going to give up the experience to drive that off-road vehicle was just like,
yeah,
felt like Indiana Jones.
I feel like Indiana Jones as we're like jumping up and down.
I would purposely like do one of these as I was driving.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Was that seemed like a little bit of extra car on top of being stick shift?
Yeah, no, it was great. Once I figured out how to get it going, yeah, because that took a little bit. I couldn't tell which one was high gear, which one was low gear, but I ultimately figured it out. And
we stalled out a couple times, but it's okay. I wouldn't have done any better.
Yeah. Aubrey, we saw you deal with a few things that had been, fears of yours, from dealing with heights to overcoming the sardines in France a couple weeks ago. How tough was that for you to have to work with the fish?
I think that the sardines was just kind of me being a little dramatic. I watched it back and I was like, it really wasn't that bad. I think I was just having problems with the texture of the fish and just their eyes. And of course it flashed me back to, my Lola's house growing up when she would have us do the same. But it was really the heights that got me because I just have never done well looking over something,
Sure.
That idea is just so it's intense in my head. So it wasn't really the tightrope that scared me because I'm like, I'm a dancer, I can do this, just ballet walk across. But it was the looking down and knowing that if I fell, that feeling of falling, it was a lot. I mean, they showed as much as they could, right? But I was talking to myself the entire time, like, you can do this, singing to myself just to not focus on how far above ground I was.
And we're happy to have you talk to us, not like Claire, who said that no talking.
Everyone deals differently with, when they're under stress. And I remember that moment I was under stress and it helped me to talk, but it didn't help her. So thank goodness that I got the green flag right, because if I didn't, I would have killed both of us, me and her.
So then to go from having to do that task and then go right into the Iceland leg with another heights task, I can imagine like you're not looking over anything. So was that much easier having done the tightrope?
Yes, I will say yes, specifically because we were hooked and it was slanted. So we weren't like directly vertical, it was slanted. So I felt a little bit better because I would have slid down if I would have fallen. But at that point, we were racing for the $1 million race. Like, I did not care. If I could do the tightrope, I was gonna whack my way up there of the ice. So, and it happened.
She did great.
Killed it.
You killed it. She was
Not as fast as Lewis, but I mean, I got there.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of Lewis, so David, you were in the cave with Lewis, and you were looking for the clue, and it seemed like that you were, calling out to Lewis, and it seemed like that he ignored you, and ultimately just got the clue and left. Were there any hard feelings that Lewis didn't point you in the right direction, at least with his words?
No, not at all. Honestly, when it was, it's second to last race, everybody wants to go now. Like, everyone helped each other earlier in the race. At this point, it's a free for all.
Yeah.
4 teams are left. I didn't take it personal. In the moment, I do remember calling, but I don't remember calling for help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw him leave, and he actually pointed me in the right direction because I saw where he grabbed the clue, and I knew where I was supposed to head
Yeah.
towards.
He helped you without helping
So
you.
he helped me indirectly.
Yeah, with his light. Yeah.
Yeah,
Leading by example.
Hmm.
exactly.
One would call it that.
So what was your favorite thing that you got to do on the race?
I feel like I can answer for you on that one.
Okay.
Ducati.
Yeah.
Oh,
That
yeah.
Ducati challenge for me was everything.
Oh my gosh.
That challenge for me was just like, I'm in the Ducati factory. Like, it can't get any better than that,
I think
That was my ultimate favorite challenge.
I think watching him I know this sounds really lame, but watching him do the Ducati, I was like, that's my man. He was there.
Yeah.
I think my favorite part, there's just so many. Also flying on the A-Stars.
Yeah.
Like the helicopters that we were on, that was
Yeah.
an incredible for us. But I love chiseling. The chiseling was
Oh.
like, bing, bada, bang, boom, boom. Like, I got in there, I was like, let's go.
Yeah.
It was really like, artsy. I think people would have imagined that we like the dance challenges because we're dancers, but I think it was the challenges that stepped us out of our comfort zone a little bit. We really enjoyed.
Mm-hmm. You two both had really good relationships with a number of the teams on The Amazing Race. Was there one team that you got along with the best while you were out there?
Yeah, I would have to say hands down. I feel like Derek and Claire were they were very good friends of us. They helped us in Spain.
Yeah.
And
Salt the fish.
Yeah, salt the fish.
That was-
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But their favor was returned with castanets in
Mhm.
Spain. So-
Sure.
But honestly, on and off camera, like our relationship was just super awesome with them. We vibed with them from the beginning. And, to this day, we sat and watched last night's episode with them and Asta and Nina. And thank goodness.
Oh.
Yeah.
So we were at Asta and Nina's house, had dinner and watched the race
Yeah, it
and
was a
just
great time.
reminisced and talked about the next time we're going to meet up and hang out.
Okay. All right. I know you two have to run, and it was so nice to get the chance to talk to you both. Anything real quick you want to make sure we know?
It's just how much we are so grateful that we were part of The Amazing Race. It led us into a stronger relationship and ultimately an engagement.
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
So, we're really
just
grateful, and we're grateful to all the fans that constantly supported us even through our hard times.
Yeah. All right. Well, David and Aubrey, so nice to talk to you. All the best outside the show. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.